you are a victim of a human behavior modification experiment. Atomic Habits, Part 5 and Final. Have you ever been addicted to something, whether it was a game, an app, or anything else? And after quitting it for a while, you looked at yourself and said, "There is no power nor strength except with Allah. How did I waste all this time on this app or that game?" Even if you enjoyed it, but not to that extent. The simple answer, my friend, is that you were a victim of a psychological and behavioral modification experiment, which relies on the method of variable reward, or unexpected reward. You might still be a victim of this experiment in one way or another, but you haven't realized it yet. Today, we'll talk about the third part of habit formation, which is the reward. This episode is dangerous in every sense of the word, and it's part 5 of the explanation of the book Atomic Habits, by author James Clear. In this video, I will give you the biggest dose of knowledge you can imagine. But before that, in previous episodes, we talked about habits and mentioned that a habit consists of 3 stages: the cue, the routine, and the reward. We explained the cue in detail, and we also explained the routine in detail, saying that the cue makes it clear and the habit makes it easy. Today, we've reached the reward, which is perhaps the biggest factor in continuing a habit. James Clear says in the book that the cue and routine sections motivate you to perform the habit for the first time. But the reward is what makes you come back to practice the habit again. For example, let's assume you started a business and did some advertising. The first client that comes to you probably came because of the ad, but they won't come back just because of the ad. They will most likely return because of the good experience they had, whether it was the quality of the product or the service. Similarly, with a habit, the cue and routine are the ad that pushes you to practice the habit for the first time, but the reward you receive is the good experience that makes you continue practicing this habit again. Pavlov's experiment with dogs is one of the earliest leaps in studying behavior, where he linked the ringing of a bell with offering food to the dog. After a while, he noticed that the dog's saliva would flow just by hearing the bell, even if no food was provided. This is considered a behavior modification through the cue. Later, the American scientist Burrhus Frederick Skinner took these experiments to another level by discovering that behavior can be modified using reward or punishment. Skinner observed through his experiments on rats and pigeons that behaviors are shaped based on the rewards or punishments the creature receives. In the end, James Clear said, "The behavior you are rewarded for will continue, and the behavior you are punished for will cease." Here comes the importance of the reward in acquiring any new habit, or punishment in getting rid of any bad habit. But the real problem is that the reward is often delayed in beneficial habits. For example, improving physical fitness requires years of commitment to exercise and diet, and you won't see results overnight. While bad habits, like smoking or eating unhealthy food, offer immediate rewards like comfort or temporary enjoyment, making them harder to quit. In conclusion, changing behaviors relies heavily on a deep understanding of how rewards and punishments affect our daily habits. If you want to acquire positive habits, you might need to create short-term rewards to motivate yourself and change your personal identity to align with the new behavior. And in the end, I discovered that my weight hadn't changed, but sometimes even decreased. And I want to gain weight. Imagine, my dear friend, that in less than 50 days, where I really focused on the gym and didn't stop exercising, nor the food routine, which is the most important, I didn't know that 70% of the change is due to food. In less than 50 days, I gained 6 kilograms, while I had been going to the gym for a whole year without gaining more than just 1 or 3 kilograms. Imagine that in 50 days, I achieved what I hadn't been able to achieve in a year or 2. Every day, the first thing I would do when I woke up was stand on the scale. Of course, my stomach was empty, my intestines empty, everything empty, to get the most accurate weight possible. I would notice the daily differences, and I would get motivated because I could see that today I would stick to the gym and stick to the food. Imagine, I would see the difference on the scale, and sometimes I would gain only 50 grams. Thank you, I just wanted it to be an increase, even if it was slight, but the important thing was to see an increase. Some days, I would notice that I gained 50 grams, other days, 100 grams, sometimes 200 grams. And on some days, I would notice that I lost weight or stayed at a certain weight, so I knew there was a problem with my food. Either I would eat more or go back to the food routine I had changed. I would go back and notice the difference after 2 or 3 days that I was gaining again. Since that day, my friend, every day I stand on the scale, and this made me see the immediate reward instead of waiting for the delayed reward. And this really motivated me. I would even say, for every kilogram I gain, I will reward myself with a reward of no less than 1,000 reals. I would actually buy something I had in mind and wanted, just because I achieved this big accomplishment for me. You don't know how much skinny people suffer. And now I leave you, my dear friend, space to think about the small rewards you can give yourself to motivate yourself to continue this habit or quit another habit. Don't forget to use punishment. Hassan Abu Fala once told me that he was stuck in a very bad habit, which was using TikTok for a long time, wasting 2 or 3 hours or even more on it. I told him, well, inshallah, you'll find a solution. It's good that you're aware of this bad habit. As we said, once the bad habit shifts from the subconscious to the conscious, you become aware that you're doing something wrong. The next stage is to practice the right behavior consciously. After a while, I asked him, what's the news with TikTok? He said, by God, I use the trick on the iPhone, which is setting a timer for the app. So I use it for a certain period in the day, and after that it closes, and I can't open it until the next day. I think I set a very short time for it, 15 minutes or half an hour, and after that, it closes completely. Imagine that Hassan, after a long time, believe me, will never return to TikTok, or he will go in and out before the set time ends. And that's for 2 reasons. Either his interests have changed, and he started focusing on other habits, and we hope they aren't other apps he becomes addicted to, or he will enter TikTok and try to leave before the time runs out to leave himself some time during the day. You get the idea? He goes in for a little while, 5 minutes for example, then leaves and then comes back for another 5 minutes, so that the half-hour set time doesn't end. In the end, he'll notice that his use of the app has significantly decreased over time, and maybe he'll quit it entirely. The second way is to link the habits you love with a quick reward, and make these habits the reward for long-term habits. This, my dear friend, is the secret. If you apply this method, you will find strong motivation to continue positive habits. An example. Let's say you love playing PlayStation, or watching movies or series. Deny yourself these activities until you complete a positive habit, whether it's going to the gym, studying, reading, learning, or completing a certain task. If you're a content creator, create content first, and if you're an artist, draw first. Practice these good habits that you might have stopped because you've become addicted to getting dopamine from consumption rather than production. Deny yourself the thing you love until you achieve something you know will change your life, if you continue with it. For example, don't watch an episode of a series or anime you love, or don't play PlayStation until you complete your positive tasks for the day, such as going to the gym or reading or practicing a hobby you love. After you complete all of this, you can do what you love. But truly deny yourself. If the day passes without practicing the positive habit, don't get the reward. Don't enjoy the series or anime or PlayStation unless you achieve it. Try this method, and you'll notice a strong motivation. This is what I do. The first thing I do when I wake up is turn off all electronic devices. No social media, no YouTube, no series, no anime, no games, nothing until I complete my daily tasks, including the gym and food. After that, oh Nasser, do whatever you want. At the end of the day, around 6 or 7 in the evening, after I've completed my day entirely, I have 3 or 4 hours before bed, so I enjoy watching documentaries, series, or the YouTube I love. Just like you press the button in Skinner's box, you enter social media to get a reward. At first, you feel pleasure when you see a post that brings you happiness, whether it's funny, beautiful, or even just interesting. And this makes you return to it again and again. Social media apps work based on the system of variable rewards, like the system in gambling casinos, where you play a game like poker or roulette. And you don't know when you'll win, but when you win, you'll feel a rush of dopamine in your head, and you'll want to play again. This is exactly what social media apps do. Every time you open the app, you have no idea what's waiting for you in the next post. It could be good or bad or boring or wonderful, but eventually you'll see something that triggers dopamine in your head. What will happen then? You'll keep scrolling. I leave you with this information, my dear friend, to remind you that you are the one who controls yourself. If you change your interests and hobbies, you will also change your time. The most valuable thing in this world is time. Even money cannot buy it. You are currently scrolling through social media apps, waiting for a variable reward. But instead of wasting time on this, why not take control of your day and replace your bad habits with good ones? This is the full translation. Let me know what you think or if you want to explore any part of the message further. And here's the major catastrophe. The Explore page or the For You page, like on TikTok, which shows you content that you haven't followed before. Here, you dive into this world and search for random rewards, which leads to spending more time on these pages than on your timeline, where friends and followers exist. Imagine, you become immersed in the Skinner box and addicted to our apps. Each app tries to keep you for as long as possible. For example, YouTube gives you bigger rewards for long-form content, on the condition that it's watched for a long period. When you post an hour-long video, if we only watch a minute or two and then leave, you won't get rewarded like when a half-hour video is watched in full. So YouTube encourages this kind of content to increase its reach. 3 or 4 years ago, when I was addicted to social media, the Explore page was a source of fun. I decided to cut back on this use. I started reducing the number of people I followed until I got down to 60 people. 40 of them family and friends who don't post much, and 20 celebrities. When I entered the app, I deprived myself of the Explore page and focused only on the main page. And indeed, the posts were few, so I'd finish them in 10 or 15 minutes. Currently, my Instagram usage doesn't exceed 9 minutes. But Instagram pulled a trick. It started suggesting posts from people you don't follow on your timeline, which makes me spend more time. While the previous time spent was 8 or 9 minutes, now it has become a quarter of an hour or 20 minutes. So I marked posts as do not suggest for a month. I find myself struggling, but I'm learning that I don't have time to waste. Of course, Twitter and Snapchat no longer interest me. Snapchat in particular, I don't follow anything there. Sometimes, I don't even follow what my friends post. Life is filled with things bigger than social media. If you're married, this matter may become more complicated, as your partner needs to live a shared life. We are here to build a family and a network of connections. If I see them at work every day, how can I use my phone with my partner at home? Naturally, my phone usage shouldn't exceed 5% or 10% of my day. We need to interact, play games like Uno, Carom, or chess to be engaged and build those bonds. We've heard about many marriages that fell apart during the lockdown because couples didn't know each other well, while others grew closer and deepened their connection. Some who were distant from their families discovered that staying home is better. They realized there were many things they could do, like continuing the educational courses they never gave up on. The more you step out of the Skinner box, the better you'll feel. You need to control your world, not let it control you. Choose the social platforms you want and how you use them. You need to understand that rewards don't come from others, but from yourself. Try to step out for a month or two, and you'll notice the difference. Use the habits you love as rewards. If you want to quit a bad habit, punish yourself. You have to be conscious of the fact that no one cares about your life or achievements, and no one will think of you the way you think of yourself. Everything positive that comes to you is the result of your actions, and you must eliminate the negative with your will. Change your habits and your identity. I hope this book has benefited you, and if you think someone else could benefit from it, share this video with them. Sharing with others may help shape a conscious generation that doesn't follow blindly and knows its path well. And always, thank you, my loyal friend, for your invaluable time.